steadily, consistently good enough that I got to a very healthy weight, not quite in maintenance because I was afraid of that term and afraid of what that would bring, but at a very healthy weight that I could have stayed at for the rest of my life. And then finally thought, okay, let's get those final pounds off and hit maintenance. I lived in maintenance for about 7 months, till life got really lifey. And I had not built the solid foundation that enabled me to deal with the lifiness that was happening to me right then. And so I took that first bite, a willful bite of like, I've got to do something to calm the pain that I'm feeling. I'm going to eat off plan. And that started me on a roller coaster of about 18 months, 22 months of a constant effort. A friend of mine said, oh, I remember you did bright line eating for about 3 years, and then you didn't do bright line eating for 2 years, and now you're back. And I said, no, I did it the whole time. I did it for those 22 months, a really painful way. Until I was finally able to look at my life like the little kid with the broccoli and say, nope, not this anymore. I am ready for the next iteration of growth. And that brought me into contact with Kathleen, who's been such a gem for me and really helping to guide me out of being stuck and into 31 days now, I think it is, of a really lovely, surrendered, easier BLE program than I've experienced for the last 2 years. So that's my journey of nope, never, not me, and the things that it has brought to me. We'll let Lisa introduce herself a little bit too.
My nope, never, not for me story is directly related to my sister, who would come home and make these gorgeous plates. And I would dabble with her. When she was in town, she would make me a plate and I would eat that beautiful plate. And then she'd go away. And I was the nope, never, not for me. I need my flour and sugar. And it's been about 2 years now since when I decided, okay, now sugar and flour are nope, never, not for me. It hasn't been a smooth journey, but it's been an eventful journey, and I'm approaching maintenance. We're working on that. I've attempted maintenance once or twice, and we're still going to keep trying. So bright line eating in the books. There are the obvious. If you want a comprehensive list of all of the books, you can go to this website or scan that QR code. It will contain the list of everything that we're going to discuss, as well as places where you can type in notes, or if you print it later, you can write in notes. But you will also have access to the slideshow at the end, so you'll be able to go back and look at anything that might have attracted your attention. All right, so the book that brought us all here. The one book to rule them all, one book to find them. Does anybody catch that book reference? One book to bring them all, and in the brightness find them. This is a Lord of the Rings reference. I love books of all kinds, whether it be Brightline books or nonfiction books, fiction books, science fiction, fantasy, historical fiction, romance. I will read almost anything that you put in front of me. But this is the one that has brought us all to the point where we are at. And we've got the additional books that Susan Pierce Thompson has published, and those are also on display up at the front, the Resume and the official Brightline Eating Cookbook. We're not going to cover these because we figure if you are here, you probably already know about those. We are going to be looking at some other items. Did you know that Susan Pierce Thompson has a recommended book list? I didn't know that until my sister pointed it out to me. So this website takes you there. And if you just Google search Susan Pierce Thompson book recommendations, it takes you to this page. The books that we are going to talk about, 2 of them are on that list, and others are books that Tina and I have found along our Brightline journey, or books that Susan Pierce Thompson has talked about in her various blogs.
Okay, so our very first book to highlight is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And Erin even referred to this book this morning in her keynote. His tagline here is "Tiny changes, remarkable results." And I love the concepts that he teaches in this book because I don't have the bandwidth to make huge changes in my life, but I have found that I can make small changes that really do have remarkable results and have made all the difference in my journey. So the premise of his book is, I may just hold this, is how to get 1% better every day. He has a graph at the very beginning that shows the trajectory of what 1% better looks like for us. We think that it's not going to add up to very much, but this is maintaining the status quo, and 1% better doesn't look like much at the beginning, but it leads exponentially to growth and new potential. He talks about, just as a summary of this book, he talks about 4 stages of habit formation. The first is noticing. That's just noticing what your day-to-day habits are, what you do. And then noticing where you want to go and be different. He says this: many people think that they lack motivation, but what they really lack is clarity. So the first step is obviously to get clear about what it is that you want to do, and then to take the action to implement specific strategies that get you there. And Aaron talked a lot about some of those things today. But one of the things that I think is most effective in terms of bright line eating, it's wonderfully simple and wonderfully powerful that Susan has us write down our food the night before, because we're identifying right there in our food journals what we will eat, roughly when we will eat it, and it reminds us of the why. And so it's a perfect implementation strategy to bring healthy foods into your life at the exclusion of other foods. So, excuse me, to simply write those things down. The second stage of habit formation he talks about is wanting. He says one of the most overlooked drivers of habit is your physical environment. So if we want a specific outcome, we need to set up our physical environment so that it encourages us to do the good habits and discourages the bad habits. So that might look like weighing and measuring your food the night before, so that the day of, you never have to actually think about what you're eating. You simply go get the bin that says breakfast and you eat it. Or it might look like putting your nightly checklist on your pillow so that you literally cannot go to bed until you've done that process that helps you to be accountable for your day. So noticing, wanting. The third step that he talks about is doing. He says any outcome you want to achieve is just a point along the spectrum of repetition. So if I never do something, I'll never accomplish what I want to do. If I always do something, I will be guaranteed to get to where I'm trying to go. And most of our life is lived in the middle, right? But the further we can move in repetition to the consistent, repeatable, always happening actions, the quicker we can guarantee our success. And the final step of habit formation that he talks about is liking the new habits. He says the reason we repeat behaviors is because we like them. You need to experience rewards along the way. And that's a gift that Kathleen has really taught me as I have been recommitting to this resume. Every night I send to her my food plan for the next day and a picture of a nightly checklist form, which for my first 5 years of Bright Line Eating, I filled out 0 nightly checklist forms. But I have been so hooked on the reward of a positive text message back from her and the 2 stickers that she puts on my little calendar that I am living this repeated behaviors that give you immediate rewards, and it's made all the difference in my Bright Line Eating program. So do what you can to make it so that you really like today what you're doing today, because weight loss is a long-term game, and it's hard to look 20 pounds into the future, 80 pounds into the future and say, what I do today is going to be worth it then. But those 2 stickers on my calendar are worth it tonight. So do what you can to make it fun. One last quote from him. Which one do I want to change? Well, which one do I want to say? He says, every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The change that we seek, true change, is identity change. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to be a runner. The goal is not to do BLE. The goal is to be a bright line eater. And so the actions that you take today are like little drops into that identity bucket that says, I am this person that I'm trying to be. And enough days of saying that I am and doing that I am become the new us that we seek for. So that's just a quick summary of James Clear's Atomic Habits.
The next two that we are talking about are two that are indeed on Susan Pierce Thompson's list. T. Colin Campbell has written two books, The China Study and Whole. The China Study is an in-depth examination of an experiment that they performed over in China that demonstrated the extreme benefits of a whole food, plant-based diet. Now, Tina and I are sisters, yes, but we also are very different people. When we were young, 12, 14, 15, okay, we attended a family reunion where one of our cousins, older than us, and a girl that we looked up to because she's older than us, she was a vegetarian. And so Tina and I came home from that family reunion and declared ourselves vegetarians. And Tina is to this day. I made it about a week until I went to a baseball game and they were hawking pepperoni pizzas. And I leaned over to my mom and I said, Mom, is pepperoni meat? And she said, yes, honey, it is. And I was done. That was it. Tina to this day still is. I have made other choices and my family eats meat. However, this book doesn't say don't eat meat anymore. It just says that there is extreme benefit from reducing the amount of animal products that we put in our bodies. Again, he doesn't say to eliminate. The benefits of having 0% of your calories coming from animal products is about the same as having about 10% of your calorie intake coming from animal products. So it has made me more aware of the choices that I am making with food. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't watched every one of Susan Pierce Thompson's vlogs or whatever. I don't know if she's vegetarian or not. I have no idea. But I do know that this is on her recommended list. So she's recognized the benefit of that idea. And I mean, his companion book is Whole, that examines in more depth that benefit and specifically the idea of nutrition in our country. And it's a very eye-opening experience to read the different studies that have been done, the different experiments that have happened. I am a huge proponent of audiobooks, and both of these are available in audiobook form. I get mine free from the public library, but I believe that Audible probably has access to them as well. Atomic Habits is on there. My Marco Polo group, my Gideon Games group knows that I always have a headphones around my neck, and I made myself put them away for this presentation, but I would strongly recommend the audiobooks for the T. Colin Campbell books.
Thank you. Okay, our next book needs a little bit of a prelude, and I didn't bring the other book, but the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is often called the Blue Bible. It's a thick treatise. The first 80-ish pages are the basis for most addiction recovery programs of any sort: drug, rehab, alcohol, food, gambling, whatever. They're all based on the Alcoholics book, or the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that book has brought a lot of clarity to my life and a lot of understanding about like a path to move forward in progress in my life, not necessarily focused on addiction, but just how to set yourself free from things that might keep you down. So that book is really awesome. And this book is also really awesome. And paradoxically, its tagline is the revolutionary alternative to Alcoholics Anonymous. But both of them have been really important in my own walk in Bright Line Eating. The idea behind Alcoholics Anonymous and really foundational to what Susan Pierce Thompson believes and therefore puts into Bright Line Eating is that that once a pickle, always a pickle, I think is what Susan says, right? That if we have tendencies toward addiction, then we will always have those, and they're always in the back of our mind. And so or not in the back of our mind, but like they are in us. And therefore the only thing to do is to set bright lines and never break those bright lines and go forward, which is obviously what we all want to do. And if we struggle to do that, I think we can often say, well, maybe it's the lines, maybe the lines don't really work, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe I'm not good enough, whatever the thoughts that start to spin in our mind. This book, and again, this is a paradox for me, and I go back and forth, but I have found elements of this to be really helpful. He says that part of the thing that keeps people stuck in addiction is simply feeling victimized, believing too much that like, oh, I'll never be able to change. I'll never be able to beat this beast that's in my life. And so he says that the best thing to do is to make a plan. He calls it the big plan, that I will never again eat flour, eat sugar, eat over quantities or snack. Like make a plan to do what you need to do and then never deviate from that plan. And which obviously is what Susan Pierce Thompson says, right? The caveat that he says is to start recognizing that anything that tells you that you can't do that is your addictive voice. And your addictive voice lives in the same embodiment as your highest self voice, and it's always wrong. It's the purpose of your highest self is to convince you that you can do exactly what you want to do. You can dream big and you can accomplish that. And the purpose of the addictive voice, which he ends up calling the beast, is to convince you that the only thing you should do in your life is seek pleasure by feeding me flour and sugar in more quantities than you need. And so he gives a lot of techniques for how to differentiate between what I really plan to do and want to do and have committed to myself and others to do, and what the addictive voice is going to be constantly telling me to do. And so what I have found, I won't go into the details on it. I think it's a really helpful book. What I have found in reading this is that this is the key to working step 1 of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is come to accept your powerlessness over food. And so come to accept that you can't do it. So once you've accepted that you can't do it, make a plan to always do it. And then the rest of the 12 steps unfold in front of you, and you get to live the rest of your life that you were really intended to live. So that's a quick summary of Rational Recovery by Jack Trimpey.
The next book that we want to highlight doesn't have direct relationships to Bright Line Eating. Has anyone in here read The Choice? Okay, an amazing story. Dr. Edith Eva Eger is a Holocaust survivor and went on to live an amazing life. She helps survivors of traumatic experiences. At first glance, it doesn't feel like a Bright Line book, but listen to some of the quotes that come from Dr. Eger. The only place where we can exercise our freedom of choice is in the present. How many times have I thought back to last week? Well, I shouldn't have had that bite of whatever, of not my food. I don't have a choice about that anymore. My choice is from here forward. Survivors don't have time to ask, why me? For survivors, the only relevant question is, what now? For those of us who are survivors of food addiction or are still struggling with food addiction, we don't get to say, well, why is this my problem? Why do I have to deal with this? No, we just say, okay, what am I going to do moving forward? And one of my favorites, to be passive is to let others decide for you. To be aggressive is to decide for others. To be assertive is to decide for yourself, and to trust that there is enough and that you are enough. I love the concept of Bright Line Eating that teaches us that food is meant to give us energy. It's meant to supply our bodies with what we need. And there is enough. In the program, there is enough. And I am enough. I can make this happen to me. I loved the opening slideshow. What an inspiration to see how many of you have overcome amazing odds or are still working on it. Some of my favorite were the ones that said, I'm still working on it. I'm still getting there. One of them had my first goal weight. Oh, no. Okay. Now here's my second goal weight. We get there and we think, oh, well, maybe I can do more. Maybe this is possible. There is enough and we are enough. We have one more book that we're going to highlight and then on to the next event.
All right, our last book that we wanted to share with you is a book called Risk Forward. And Susan did a vlog on this several months ago, I think. And I bought it, and it lay on my nightstand with the other 12 books that are on my nightstand for a really long time. And about a month ago, I thought I should read that. And then about a week ago, I did. And I'm really grateful that I did. This book is delightful. If you like, how many of you have read this? Has anyone read it? Okay. So just looking on the outside, it's like, that's going to be a good book. And then you look on the inside and you know you need to read it. She's got these beautiful colored dividers in here of every color of the rainbow. And each of them, it helps us to work on 6 different areas of our life. And really, this book is not necessarily meant to be read from cover to cover. She says this about how to read this book. You can read the sections of this book in any order and at any pace. If one part doesn't speak to you, choose another. Focus on the parts that resonate. Consider this book a touchstone for your soul, a playbook in the improvisation of your work and your life. So she has little ideas in here that help you to get unstuck with whatever you're stuck on. If you have a hard time saying no and dismissing the negative thoughts that come into your mind, there's a section on how to deal with myths that we tell ourselves. If you are feeling afraid of something, there's advice on here on how to deal with being afraid. How to create, how to stumble forward, how to embrace failure. She has so many different ideas in here that all just give you little nuggets of here's the next action you could take if this is the kind of life that you want and you feel unable to move toward that type of life. So this is one to just keep on your nightstand and refer to it every once in a while when you feel like you just need someone to lovingly say, why don't you think about this, or why don't you try that? So this is a delightful little book that you can turn to on an as-needed basis to gain a little bit of strength. Okay, so those are 6, I guess, books, 7 that we wanted to highlight for you. And now we want to practice together. How do we find true principles that resonate with our BLE life in other books? This one, right? And so I wanted to read to you one of my favorite books, and Lisa's favorite book as well. It's called Ish by Peter Reynolds. He, if you haven't discovered him as an author and as an illustrator, he does both. And every project that he works on, I think, is just golden. So, Ish by Peter Reynolds. Ramon loved to draw. Anytime, anything, anywhere. One day, Ramon was drawing a vase of flowers. His brother, Leon, leaned over his shoulder. Leon burst out laughing. "What is that?" he asked. Ramon could not even answer. He just crumpled up the drawing and threw it across the room. Leon's laughter haunted Ramon. He kept trying to make his drawings look right, but they never did. After many months and many crumpled sheets of paper, Ramon put his pencil down. "I'm done." Marisol, his sister, was watching him. What do you want?" he snapped. "I was watching you draw," she said. Ramon sneered. "I'm not drawing. Go away." Marisol ran away, but not before picking up a crumpled sheet of paper. "Hey, come back here with that." Ramon raced after Marisol up the hall and into her room. He was about to yell, but he fell silent when he saw his sister's walls. He stared at the crumpled gallery. "This is one of my favorites," said Marisol, pointing. "That was supposed to be a vase of flowers," Ramon said, "but it doesn't look like one." "Well, it looks vase-ish," she exclaimed. "Vase-ish?" Then Ramon looked closer. He studied the drawings on Marisol's wall and began to see them in a whole new way. "They do look ish," he said. Ramon felt light and energized. Thinking ishly allowed his ideas to flow freely. He began to draw what he felt, loose lines, quickly springing out without worry. Ramon once again drew and drew the world around him. Making an ish drawing felt wonderful. He filled his journals, tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish, sun-ish. Ramon realized he could draw feelings too. peace-ish, silly-ish, excited-ish. His ish art inspired ish writing. He wasn't sure if he was writing poems, but he knew they were poem-ish. Ponder, he wrote, pond, ponder, dream yonder, pond, pond, yond, yond, gleam, wonder. Ramon. One spring morning, Ramon had a wonderful feeling. It was a feeling that even ish words and ish drawings could not capture. He decided not to capture it. Instead, he simply savored it. And Ramon lived ishly ever after. The end, ish, it says. So tell me, let's discuss what parts of this book resonate with your journey, even in an ishly way. If an idea comes to you and you're not quite sure it's the right answer, it is, let us hear it. What do you think? Like what themes come to mind? What echoes in your heart? Yeah, absolutely. Right. There's no perfect way to do it. There's just doing it. Oh, I will. For those of you who are on the audience. So our first comment was about that there's no perfect way to do bright line eating, that if we do it and feel like it was our best effort, then that's an ish effort and it's totally enough. And Vanessa made the comment that the people who have surrounded her on her BLE journey are the reason why she's here, why she's being successful. Like Marisol saw Ramon's potential and helped him to see it. What other thoughts? Yeah, Amy.
I definitely relate to that.
Yeah, awesome. So Amy said that she's been the person who scribbled out, who crumpled up her BLE experience and said it was no good and then tried again, right? I saw another hand. Yeah, very good. So to reject the people like Ramon in our lives that would have us think that our effort isn't good enough. Yeah. Absolutely. Which is why I love things like book groups and mastermind groups and Gideon games and conferences like this, right? Where I get to set aside all the Ramones in all the big brothers in my life who say, not good enough. That's too weird. I could never, you should not, whatever. And I get to come here with people who say, this is beautiful. It's ishly enough. And we love ish. So, that's the community that we've built here. And it's so precious. Lisa's going to guide us through one more book that we just think is so beautiful. And then maybe we'll take pictures of the rest of these books that we were thinking about doing, and we'll just post it so that you guys can go and explore them with your own mastermind groups or kids or friends or whatever.
Okay, so I am a secondary math teacher by trade, but this is a book that I fell in love with so much that with my online 6th grade math class, I read this to them one day because it was inspirational. This is called The OK Book by Amy Krauss Rosenthal. The OK Book. Hi, how are you? I am okay. All right, I'm going to point this out for you in case you don't see it. Okay, do you see it? It took me like halfway through the book before I realized that. He's okay. I am okay. I like to try a lot of different things. I'm not great at all of them, but I enjoyed them just the same. I'm an okay skipper. I am an okay climber. I am an okay marshmallow roaster. I am an okay tightrope walker. I am an okay left fielder. I am an okay right fielder. I am an okay diver. I am an okay hider. I am an okay pumper. I am an okay sledder. I am an okay kite flyer. I am an okay tug of warer. I am an okay sharer. I am an okay headstander. I am an okay pancake flipper. I am an okay fisher. I am an okay swimmer. I am an okay lightning bug catcher. One day, I will grow up to be really excellent at something. I don't know what it is yet, but I sure am having fun figuring it out. The end. Are we all doing perfectly on this journey? Some of us are. There are such people as, what do they call them? Crystal basers. I'm not one. I know they are out there. I know they exist. But it's okay to just be okay. And to be on this journey, finding ourselves. During Erin's keynote address, as she was encouraging us to write down our dreams, it was interesting that within our group, the dreams weren't related to Brightline at all. We had other ideas. And are all of mine going to work out? I don't know. I might just be okay at it. And that's okay too, is that we are all on this journey together. We love finding little gems in these books that encourage us along our Brightline path. Again, we had all this whole stack of delightful books that we were going to go through. These are all Peter Reynolds books, but some of my favorites were The Dot, I Am Here, and Our Table. We'll put all of these in the slideshow that gets shared out, so that if you have access to your public library, you can go and get these as well. Do you have any wrap up?
We just wanted to call attention to the very last words on this slide here that you almost can't see because it washes out. But it says here at the very end, the end. And then the little man by the tree says, or is it just the beginning? So we just really feel like wherever you are on your BLE journey, if you are starting tomorrow, or if you began last month, or if you began 2 years ago and have been a crystal vaser, or if you began 2 years ago and have had a kind of up and down struggle, or if you began wherever you are, I was going to say 5 years ago and then fell off for 22 months and have 31 bright days, wherever you are on your journey. It's the beginning of your journey. Today can be the beginning. It can be the continuation of everything you have learned throughout your whole life, and it can still be the beginning. And so we just invite you to make it your beginning. Whatever you can imagine on the road in front of you, work to make that a reality. And if it's an ish reality, that's okay. If it's a bumpy road reality, that's okay too. But find the people who will help to get you there and cling to the bright lines that will give you the ability, the mental clarity, the space, the confidence to get you there. Because with your bright lines intact and your community around you, you can do anything and it can be amazing. So thank you for coming.